Okay, so we're going to take notes on Chapter 8, Lesson 4. You should be on page 622. And we actually should be writing in our book. All right, so this particular lesson is talking about multiplication and division equations. And just like addition and subtraction, these two operations also have a property of equality. So if you divide each side of an equation by the same non-zero number, the two sides will remain equal. So that has kind of an extra catch there because you can't divide anything by zero. It's undefined. That's just not something that is possible. All right, so look at the examples. You've got numbers 18 equals 18. And if you divide 18 by 6, on both sides you get 3 equals 3. So the algebra would look like on the right, it has a variable x. So 3 times x is equal to 12. So if you want to get x by itself, you're going to divide the 3x by 3, and that creates 3 over 3, which is equal to 1. And so the 1 doesn't have to be written because x is 1x. So then you end up with 4 because 12 divided by 3 is 4. Okay. So when you solve an equation by dividing both sides of the equation by the same number, that is the division property of equality. All right, so we're going to look at an example that the textbook has already done for us. And you'll see it says the 6th grade class at Reading Middle School is building a rectangular greenhouse that is 6 feet long, and the area of the floor is 24 square feet. How wide is the greenhouse? Okay, so length times width equals the area, and x is going to be the width of the greenhouse. So here's the bar diagram. The whole area is 24 square feet, okay? And rectangular, it's 6 feet long, so we have 6 feet. So the number of sections is unknown, but each section is 6 feet long. So we are going to make that into a multiplication problem. 6 times the unknown number equals 24. So to get rid of the 6, we're going to divide it by 6, creating 6 over 6, which is equal to 1. And that leaves us with 1x. We don't have to write the 1, just x. And then we have 24 divided by 6. And the answer, of course, is 4. So 6 times 4 is 24. That is correct. So that is how we can use division to solve algebraic equations. All right, so we're going to work our way through this word problem, and the first thing that we're going to do is don't panic. Okay, so we're going to read the problem. We're going to find out what we're actually looking for, and the final sentence of the word problem will be a question. So we're going to make the unknown thing into a variable. So we're going to pick a letter, then we're going to draw a picture and write the equation. So let's go ahead and get started. In 2004, Penn Hadow and Simon Murray walked 680 miles to the South Pole. The trip took 58 days. Suppose they traveled the same distance each day. Write and solve a multiplication equation to find about how many miles they traveled each day to the nearest whole number. Okay, so the question is write and solve a multiplication equation to find how many miles they travel each day. Now, the one good thing is they actually told us to write a multiplication equation, but we kind of already knew that was going to be the case because there was a huge clue. Really? My pen's not cooperating. There's a huge clue. There's a huge clue right here. Same distance. And so when you repeatedly do the same thing, you're either going to be using some kind of multiplication equation or division equation. So, all right, so what letter should we represent the unknown number of miles with? Go ahead and answer that for me. Okay, I'm going with M, but as long as you chose a letter, you had 26 options, you got credit for that answer. Okay, so M. So what are we multiplying by the M? So basically, what is the coefficient? And we're going to be practicing that definition in our class today, so please come to the live class. Or tomorrow, sorry. So what coefficient should we put in front of the letter m to multiply the number of miles for each day? Now, one thing that we do know, even though it is we already know it's multiplication, but it wouldn't hurt to draw a picture. We know that there are going to be 58 of these days. Now, I'm not going to draw all 58, but what we're looking for is what's going to be in one of these boxes. So what is the total? What goes up here? That's going to be what number? Go ahead and answer that for me. All right, so if you said 680, you're correct. So 680 is going to be the product. So we're going to put that over here. So now all I need you to do is tell me what number we're multiplying by m. Go ahead and answer that for me. Okay, so that is actually going to be 58. 58 days times the same number of miles each day is going to equal 680. Now all we have to do is solve the problem. Okay, so how do we get rid of this? If we are multiplying, what is the inverse of multiplication? Please answer that. All right, if you said division, you're right. And so basically division is the same almost as fractions. So we're going to do the division symbol like a fraction. 58 times miles divided by 58. And so if we do that to this side, we have to do it to the other side as well. Now, if we have 58 over 58, what is that equal to? Go ahead and answer that for me. You're exactly right. It's actually not equal to 0. It's not a 0 pair, but it is equal to the number 1. So this becomes the number 1. And so if we have 1m, that's the same as just writing m. We don't have to put a 1 in front of it. Now, the other thing we have to do to solve this problem is we're actually going to divide 680 by 58. So go ahead and solve that for me, please. Okay, so you should have gotten something like this. Basically, 58 is very close to 60. So I knew that was going to go into 68 one time, and then I subtracted it. And then I knew it was going to go into there another one time. And I did have to annex a 0. And got 420 when I pulled a 0 down. And so that actually, 60 times 7 would be 420. So I put 7 here. Now, I actually decided to stop because this will only go into this maybe 1 or 2 times. And luckily, we have this magical word over here, about. And about means we are going to estimate. So I'm going to go ahead and stop right here and round this to the nearest number of miles. 7 is that going to round up to 12 or will it round down to 11? Answer that for me, please. That's going to round up. So the answer is actually going to be they walked about 12 miles a day. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the inverse. So there is also a multiplication property of equality, which means that you can multiply both sides of the equation by the same non-zero number, and the two sides will remain equal. So if we start out with 3 equals 3, this is an equation because we have a term equals another term, and 3 times 6 and 3 times 6 are both going to equal 18. So in algebra, if we have x over 4, x divided by 4 is equal to 7. So to get rid of this 4, we're going to multiply by a whole number 4. And we know that this is actually going to be 4 over 1. So that will cross out and cancel out those that 4. It's going to turn into the number 1. So 4x over 4, we cross those out, it becomes 1. And so then we just have 1x down here. But 7 times 4 is 28, so the answer is going to be 28. When you solve an equation by multiplying each side of the equation by the same number, you're using the multiplication property of equality. Okay, we're going to look at this example they've done for us. The weight of an object on the moon is 1/6 of its weight on the Earth. If an object weighs 35 pounds on the moon, write and solve a division equation to find its weight on Earth. Okay, so the weight of an object divided on Earth divided by 6 equals the weight on the moon. And so they chose the letter W for the weight of the object on Earth. And so here's their bar diagram. So here's the unknown amount it's going to weigh on Earth. And we know that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections, and each section is 35 pounds. So the weight of the object on Earth divided by 6 is equal to 35. It's going to be the equation. So in order to get that W by itself, we're going to write W over 6 equals 35, and we're going to multiply both sides by 6. And if we multiply 6 over 1 by W over 6, the 6 over 6 becomes the number 1, which leaves 1 W. And then 35 times 6 is going to be 240 pounds. So if something weighs 210 pounds, if something weighs 210 pounds on Earth, then it's only going to weigh 35 pounds on the moon. Okay, so we're going to work together to solve this problem. Step 1, don't panic. We're going to read the problem, figure out what the unknown thing is, give it a letter to define it, and then we'll draw our pictures, do our equation, and continue. Okay, so Nathan picked a total of 60 apples in 1/3 of an hour. Write and solve a division equation to find how many apples he could pick in 1 hour. Okay, so we go focus on the question. It says how many apples. So tell me what letter we should use to represent the unknown number of apples. Answer that for me, please. Hey, I'm going with A. So if you chose another letter, I still gave you credit for it as long as it was a letter to represent this variable. Okay. So now it says division equation, but I want to go ahead and draw a picture so I kind of have an idea of which numbers, which data goes in which part of this equation. Something will be over here, something will be over here. We'll have two expressions, but we have to figure out what goes where. So it says he picked 60 apples in 1/3 of an hour. Okay, so this, well, let's make this the 1 hour. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw 3 sections. And so 1/3, I'm going to put 60 in here. Okay, so how many apples can you pick in 1 hour? So where do we put the letter A? So are we going to put the letter A in this? No, we're not going to put the letter A in here because that's also going to be 60. So the letter A has to go up here. All right. So how are we going to do this? What gets divided by what? So what I want you to do is go ahead and try to write an equation for me that's a division equation based on this picture. Let's go ahead and see what we could do on that. Answer that for me, please. Okay, so we are going to have A divided by 3 sections is equal to 60 apples. Okay, so what is A going to be? How do we get rid of this 3 on the bottom? Go ahead and tell me what we should do. Okay, if you said multiply by 3, you are correct. So this is going to become, actually this term and this term are going to cancel out, and we're going to end up with just A. If we multiply the other side by 3, okay, we're going to end up with 180. So if we, and that makes sense because if you look at this picture, 60 plus 60 plus 60, 3 times 60 is definitely going to be 180. All right, so we're at that point in the class when I ask you, what do you think the most important thing about this lesson is? And if you honestly have nothing to say, spend a few minutes looking over the examples, rereading the notes, watch the video again if you have to. Just don't say, I don't know. So think about one thing that you think is important to remember about this lesson. Go ahead and answer that for me, please. Okay, thank you very much for taking notes and doing your best job. Hopefully I will see you tomorrow so we can practice this together. Thank you.